Every pregnancy needs utmost care and attention. But certain pregnancies need a little extra attention. An Rh negative mother carrying an Rh positive baby is at increased risk of complications. BSV is at the forefront to ensure safe delivery in every Rh negative pregnancy.
Welcome to the Outside View, wherein today we are going to discuss about the defending champions, the England women's cricket team. Since the last cycle to now, they've played 41 games, won 23, lost 17, with one match resulting in a no result. That's not the greatest of records for the defending champions, definitely. Dane, first thing to you, what do you think has been England's performance since the last World Cup cycle? They are the defending champions heading into New Zealand.
Yeah, I think it was a bit indifferent, especially with them coming off this high, won the World Cup in their backyard and, what a special moment at Lord's. But yeah, it's just been a bit indifferent. It's almost as if, even though their core has stayed the same, it's almost as if it's like they're finding their feet. It's a weird combination for me because it's not, when I look at their side, it doesn't look like there was a massive amount of changes. Yes, you lost a Sarah Taylor, etc., but not a massive amount. The core is still the same, but it just looks like it almost feel like they're experimenting too much, not keeping the players, as I guess, as not as normal as possible, but, as set as possible. So for me, I just feel it was a bit indifferent from 2017. It's not what you expect from a quality England side.
Not what we expect from a quality England side. They were thrashed in the Ashes, if that's the right word. Julia, you covered it very closely. Are they going the right paths? Dane just mentioned 2017 hasn't been great for England. Ashes thrashed, and they head into a World Cup as a defending champion, 5 years ago.
Yeah, I think obviously they had a change of coach. They've got Lisa Keightley there now. I think it's difficult for her. She's trying to come in and trying to find that right team. They really thought they were a good chance in the Ashes, and I think they definitely underperformed. Obviously, there was a lot of talk around their preparation for it, but I don't think it was any different to any of the other countries leading into that sort of period of time. But like Dane mentioned, the team hasn't changed a lot, and I really think that maybe they sort of just maybe sat back a little in 2017 and went, sweet, we've won this is great, we're number one, and didn't keep pushing themselves. And that can be sometimes the danger as the number one team. Everyone's now chasing you as opposed to you trying to chase number one. And I think they got a little lost in how to be number one. And number one means you keep pushing and challenging yourself. And, we spoke before about the Australians and how they have been really pushing themselves. And, with a few injuries, they've been able to replace with other players that are ready to come straight in. The systems in Australia have really allowed for that. And I think now that the 100 and a few of the competitions in England are coming through, I think that will definitely help in the future. For this tournament coming up, I'm not sure if it will quite so much. I still think it just looks a little lean in experience and even skill sets. But I think this team might be good in another 4 years' time. I just don't know if this is the one to win it for mine.
Julia spends most of her time in America, and that's the reason that America word comes out in place of England. She's the head coach of USA women's cricket team. So just for the audience to understand, tell me something, that batting department, if you see, there hasn't been a lot of change except for example, a Sarah Taylor or Fran Wilson at the end. But is there that over-reliance on Tammy Beaumont and Heather Knight? Those two have been that vital cogs. The rest of the batting lineup has been here and there. Maybe a Natalie Siver, just to add on. Julia, to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the three of those, I think Siver definitely, she was one of the better performed as well. In fact, the best performing that still was under 19, the average for the tournament just gone. Recently, Heather Knight was in good form, but I think the weight of carrying the team really got to her by the end of it. Yeah, and I think someone like an Amy Jones definitely needs to start to step up We know Danny Wyatt's amazing in the T20 game, but again, I think she could be used very similarly to Ash Gardner. I don't think she's the answer to the opening problems that England have got at the moment, with Winfield Hill just not being able to perform as well as they would have liked. However, we've got to remember this series that they just came out of was in Australia, and they actually came off 2 winning series in England, which is similar-ish conditions to New Zealand. So they did a winning series against New Zealand and a winning series against India only recently last year. So to me, maybe, I would be persisting with Winfield Hill in that opening position. And so to me, that they keep sticking with that batting lineup, who are very talented, but just in the Australian conditions didn't deal with it. But maybe in New Zealand conditions, they're going to feel a lot more at home because they do look like a good batting unit, and they can actually bat. I mean, we've seen a fair bit of them in Australia with the WBBL and WNCL.
I'm going to challenge you on that, Julia. I'm going to challenge you, sorry, if I can jump in on the batting lineup, because I don't feel like Winfield Hill is the answer for England. They've been persisting with her, and I'm going to throw a massive curveball, but I'm a fan of Amy Jones. I think she's got the technique to go up the top. Yes, she strikes it a bit quicker than what you want, but she's a bit more attacking. You see her more at the top in T20 cricket, but since I've played against Amy Jones, just saw that technique up the order. I feel like curveball, I'll throw Amy Jones at the top with Tammy Beaumont and see how it goes.
I don't mind that. I think that's a great idea, in fact, because I think, and she has been probably that floater for a long time. They've never really settled on a position for her. She's batted everywhere from opening to about 7. So I don't think you could certainly do a lot worse than Amy Jones going into opening. So yeah. Good call. I'll take that one. That's good.
And that's a massive dusra thrown to the captain, because already they've been thinking about Winfield Hill. They tried Lamb, they tried Wyatt, and now out of nowhere, Dane Manika throws in that play Amy Jones at the top of the order. This is going to be a massive surprise for everyone if Jones comes out and opens with Beaumont. Let's talk about probably their important player at the top of the order. She was the player of the tournament, the last edition. Tammy Beaumont, how important is her role going to be, Julia?
Yeah, it's going to be a huge role. As we just mentioned, they're really having opening issues. They're not really sure who's going to be consistently in that top order, and Tammy Beaumont has been that person. She was named in the ICC ODI Team of the Year last year. She has had a really poor record in Australia. So again, even though she's had a bad tournament leading into this, it doesn't mean that she's going to have a bad World Cup necessarily in New Zealand. Again, we're talking about conditions that they might actually suit her and her style of play. So to me, she needs to really step up. She needs to be getting them off to a great start. Their power plays were really poor in the Ashes series. But as I mentioned, the series against India and New Zealand back home, they played very well back home. Their power plays were dominant. They're averaging nearly 40 odd in their power plays, and that's what they need to be doing, is getting off to that good confident start to really set it up and take a lot of that pressure off your Nat Sivers and your Heather Knights, that are the ones that are going to get those big scores and be leading the team into the back end of those overs, so that your Sophia Dunkleys and your Danny Wyatts can bring it home for them. So yeah, it's a huge role for Tammy Beaumont, and I think she's up for it. I mean, she's had scored quite a few centuries, and she loves scoring runs. So I think she was going to be in her element, I think, in New Zealand.
Very important for England. Danny has already answered my question, the next one. I would want to hear from you. Who do you think should partner Beaumont at the top? Is it Jones, what Danny says? Should they persist with Winfield Hill? Should they bring Wyatt back at the top? Should they bring in a newcomer, Emma Lamb, just to give her the space? Who do you think it's going to be?
Yeah, well, I don't think it should be Wyatt. I know there was a lot of speculation around that, whether she should come up the order. She is a naturally attacking player, but I think she would be better off without the ball moving around, and she's going to be more valuable to the team in getting those quick runs towards the end. I know that Winfield Hill didn't score a lot of runs in the series, but looks good and starts off well. And I think the lack of bounce and sort of movement, I think that she got in Australia won't affect her quite so much in New Zealand. So to me, I think at least early on, I think, I mean, she is there as an opener. She's not going to bat down the order. She's not going to bat in the middle order, whereas Amy Jones is a lot more flexible than she is. But I think, to me, I would start with Winfield Hill, just to continue her learning journey, I suppose, from this tour that they've been on for a little while now, and give her a bit of a look and see how she goes, and give her a bit of time, like Dana was saying. Don't chop and change all the time. Let her maybe get into the World Cup a little bit, and then be able to change it from there by bringing Amy Jones up as a backup if it hasn't worked. But I mean, I had Lauren Winfield Hill play at the Hurricanes when I was there, and she's a magnificent player. But I remember thinking to myself that her T20 game isn't going to be as good as her 50 over game or her test game. She's got a good solid technique. She's got a good cricket brain on her shoulders, and she'll be very handy out in the middle. She's just got to be a little bit more patient and actually maybe do that same sort of role we were discussing for the Australian team, with your Moonies or your Perrys, where just take your time, let the team bat around you, and you stay out there and you score your 50 off 75 or whatever. And I think that'll be what's required to get the English team off to a good start.
Let's come down from the opening slot to the pace bowling attack. What they have Cross, they have Brunt, they have Silver, they have Shrubsole, they have Farrant. Dane, I'm asking you this because I really love the South African pace bowling attack, but is the England pace bowling attack the best in the tournament?
No, I mean it with no disrespect. No, South Africa, head and shoulders, in my opinion, have the best bowling attack in the tournament. Not taking away from the quality that England has. I mean, Catherine Brunt, she's the veteran. She's a legend in her own right. Kate Cross came back on the scene, and she's been bowling incredibly well. I've faced Anna Shrubsole at her best, and it's not fun, swooping the ball in. I'm not taking away from the quality they have within the side. I'm just speaking, and I'm not being biased. I'm just looking at skill, player for player. Sorry, South Africa, I'm still going to back them as the best pace attack.
Yeah, I probably have to agree with you there. I think your South African attack's amazing, but at the same time, Kate Cross, I think she's been really pushing hard. She's in the top 10 now as well in her rankings, and obviously Catherine Brunt, she's always going to be that competitor that never gives in. Nat Sciver's probably gone off a little bit, I think, with her bowling, but I think maybe the conditions will help her out in New Zealand. She can play that Talia McGrath role sort of through that middle sort of period. I'm not sure about Tash Farrant. I think she's certainly not, I know she's a medium pace bowler, but I think her pace, she's going to have to develop a lot of accuracy and if not a lot of variation in her bowling. So I just don't think she's quick enough to be causing too many issues. It again may get a little bit of assistance in New Zealand with the way that they, the way the conditions are over there. And Anya Shrubsole is an interesting one. She does hoop it, you're absolutely right. But I'm a little concerned about her fitness and getting her through that World Cup. I think she's been around for a long time. You've got someone like Freya Davies coming into the system, and I think the fact that even though she takes the ball away, her angles, she attacks the stumps, takes the ball away, and I would nearly say I'd be putting Freya Davies in ahead of maybe an Anya if you had to leave Anya out. But just to be controversial, I really like Freya Davies. I think she's got a lot of potential in that bowling attack, but she's not going to be blasting anyone out like your South African attack, definitely. But they've still got little nuances and a little bit of swing, a little bit of variations that maybe make up for the lack of pure pace that you guys have over in South Africa.
Already a lot of controversial opinions are coming out, and I'm loving all of that, definitely. Let's talk about that younger brigade. Let's talk about the player who missed out on that 2017 World Cup just because she was busy writing exams. I spoke with Sophie Eccleston, and she mentioned that had it been to me, I would have played the 2017 World Cup, but my parents did not agree and I couldn't. And this time around, if you just see the last 5 years, she's probably the best spinner that we have in world cricket today. Is this the time that Sophie Eccleston actually says that, yes, I am here to win England the World Cup?
I don't know if I'd ever talk to my parents again if they'd made me sit out that and then they go and win the World Cup. Like, it would have been at Lord's, like crazy good. But yes, Sophie Eccleston, she's been amazing. Her left arm orthodox spin has just been, it is excellent. She's got great loop. She's quite a tall bowler, so she gets a lot of loop and can get a little bit of turn, not getting huge amounts of turn. But what I also really like about her is not just her bowling, but I think her batting's really starting to develop as well. So she's becoming extremely handy in that sort of middle to lower order for England to get those extra runs and just be that sort of nagging tail ender that's really tough to get out. So not only is she really contributing with the ball, she's getting plenty of wickets at a very low economy rate. She's also contributing with the bat.
Also contributing with the bat. Danae, as a fellow spinner, do you want to add something there?
Yeah, look, she's quality. Yeah, I'd probably also be very, very angry with my parents, especially as Julia mentioned, at Lord's winning a World Cup. I'd probably not still be speaking to them, but no, she's quality. I've faced her many times, many good battles. She's got me a couple of times, she's given me some chips on the field as well. She's a competitor, and she's probably up there as one of the best spinners in the world at the moment. Didn't go as well as she wanted to probably in the Ashes. Just by watching it just looked like she was bowling very quick. I'm not allowing herself, allowing the ball to do anything. It's almost like she came in it almost looked like a medium pacer coming at you. The moment she slowed it down a little bit. I'm not saying Sophie Eccleston must be slow, because her biggest strength for me is coming at you, coming at the stumps. As Julia mentioned, not the most turn, but enough to trouble you as a batter. And so for me, it's just she's going to be key. Last time we played in New Zealand, didn't get a massive amount of turns, so it will suit her in a way. I think she must just allow herself to get back to who she is, and allow, just give the ball a little bit more, I guess, allow the ball to turn a little bit more and not just dart it in as much. Because she came onto the scene and she was incredible, and I think obviously players have done their homework, and you can see that with the Ashes. Teams do their homework, and I think she's going to have to find ways to trouble batters, and no doubt she will. I think she's incredible, and as Julia mentioned, the way she's been batting as well, it's always nice to have a weapon like that within your side, and no doubt she'll go well in the World Cup as well.
No doubt she'll definitely bowl well.
I think towards the end of the World Cup too, I think with the pitches starting to dry out and everything, I think she'll actually really come into her own, as will a lot of the spinners. So I think it's important to make sure that, she did get off to a bit of a slow start in the Ashes series recently, but as time went on, as the pitches wore a little bit, she just improved and got her sort of mojo back a little bit. So yeah, it's good to see her bowling well, and obviously that goes to with all spinners in all teams as well.
You have to be on your own game. Let me come down to that prediction hat. Where do you see England finish? This is the difficult one. Definitely a difficult one. Danae, you will start.
Yes, I don't want to answer that. Just looking at the sides, and again, Julia actually made a very good point. We're only speaking about the recent series, and obviously that's in your head. So looking at the recent series, they weren't in my semi-finals. Just looking at all the teams, and especially New Zealand coming in their own. My prediction was, after watching that, I didn't think that they would make the semi-finals. But they're World Cup, they're the defending champs, so you don't know. So it's a bold one.
Defending champions, Danae is saying they're going to be ruled out even of the top four. So not qualifying for the semi-finals is Danae's prediction. Julia, your thoughts there?
I'm going with the masses, and same. I just can't see them getting through into the semi-final rounds. They're definitely going to take some games off people and be competitive, but I just can't see that there's some amazing talent, and I know New Zealand are ranked a lot lower than they are, but when you're in your home country, as we saw England in 2017, it makes a big difference. So I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on from the countries ranked below England to really stretch their batting order. So I'm with Danae on this one too.
Wow, this is massive. Defending champions getting ruled out of the semi-finals even. This is the big talking point, I think so, from this entire preview. But let's come down to that first playing 11 for England. Julia, you start.
So I'm going with the controversial Winfield Hill opening with Tammy Beaumont. Heather Knight obviously coming in 3 and Siva in 4. Dunkley 5, Jones 6, and then my bowling attack, a little varied, but I'm actually going to bring in, I'm going to have, because of where they're playing, Dean and Eccleston are my 2 spinners, with maybe Heather Knight having to bowl a little if she has to, but going with Brunt, Davies, and Cross as my three pace bowlers along with Siva.
So no Shrubsole, no Wyatt is in your 11.
Yep.
Dane, your 11.
Well, I'm definitely going to change it up. Yeah, so my team is obviously Tammy Beaumont with Amy Jones. I'm going to be controversial. Then Heather Knight at 3, 4 definitely Nat Silver. Then 5 I've got Sophia Dunkley. 6 Danny Wyatt I bring in. 7 Catherine Brunt. 8 Anya Shrubsole. 9 Sophie Eccleston. 10 I'll bring still. I agree with Charlie Dean. And then 11 I'll bring in Kate Cross, just because of her experience ahead of Davies. But I am a fan of Freya Davies. True what you say about Anya Shrubsole. The nice thing about Freya Davies is, I think, if Shrubsole don't, make that all the games, or they need to rest her, Freya Davies is a very good and a capable stand-in for me. I just think I'm going with experience more than anything else.
You're going with experience more than anything else. Jones at the top of the order. That's the first controversial pick. No Shrubsole. So no Shrubsole, right, in your team, or?
I've got Shrubsole in.
Oh, okay. So Shrubsole is in your team. Davis is in your team. Then what? Winfield Hill versus Wyatt. That's the difference, I think so. Yeah. So these are 2 changes in your teams. Let's see what Heather Knight and Lisa Kitley play in their first game against Australia on the second day, I think so. That's the 5th of March, next Saturday. That's it from us here on the Outside View, the England preview. We'll soon join with the other previews as well.